And welcome to yet another enthralling program. जैसा आप सब जानते हैं कि इस वर्ष कोंकणी भाषा हमारी लैंग्वेज इन फोकस है। इसी संदर्भ में हम आज 2 नृत्य देखेंगे। ढालो एक नृत्य फॉर्म है जो ज़्यादातर मंदिरों के हॉल में किया जाता है और ये नृत्य इट्स एन एक्सप्रेशन ऑफ ग्रैटिट्यूड फॉर ऑल द बाउंटी इन देयर लाइव्स। दूसरा नृत्य फुगड़ी है जो एक तेज़ गति पे किया जाता है और ज़्यादातर गणेश चतुर्थी जैसे अवसरों और त्योहारों पे किया जाता है। इसके अलावा there's a surprise element for you which I will ask Pritha to explain to us.
Thank you, Sangeeta, and a warm welcome. In Konkani, as I say again, Samestang Yokar. Once again, we thank HLF to provide us the platform through which we are able to share the folk art of our precious land. And what you will be seeing today, were any of you present for yesterday's performance? Okay. So as you know, yesterday they just had the entire performance, but today we are going to make it like a demonstrative as well as interactive session. So in case you do have any questions, we will take them at the end. Huh? So as I said, yeah.
I really need to request you all to please put your mobile phones on silent mode. I can hear somebody's phone ringing.
So what is Dhalo and what is Fugdi? The very interesting thing is that these are women-centric celebrations. These are not dances to be performed. This is a part of their life, happening at certain times of the year, which I'm going to tell you about. And it is something that they do in spontaneity. So it's not that they're preparing for the stage or they're preparing, to show it to somebody else somewhere, which of course they're showing today because it's just a matter of sharing our heritage with you. But it happens as a part of a community activity. And as I have been already having spent some time with this group of lovely women, I realized that, this is such an excellent expression of women's empowerment. Because I think even before the word has been coined, our community has been, or our society back home has been so privileged to let women, celebrate and do and engage in these activities at their own terms, on their own terms. There is a time of the year, there is a time of the day, and then they choose the time, and then they go on. They go on probably through half the night to do this. And here we have today something much beyond that. We have a group of 20 women who have actually come on their own, all the way from Goa. There is this young girl, Janki, who is leading them, but again, a tremendous show of leadership, The moment we said, Janki, could you do this? She said, yes. And, there we were. Like, she was able to communicate with the HLF team and, work out the transport, work out all the modalities, back in touch with me, how could we do this, how could we do that? And here we are. So I think more than just a cultural expression, I think this is, for me, a matter of pride because the small state that we come from, these are people from the deepest of villages. And it's not just their village. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the Dhalo in general. So across the state of Goa, in most of our villages, most I will say, or you could say all, Dhalo happens. Community-wise, taluka-wise, you will have certain changes, certain differences, but the essence remains the same. The songs largely remain the same. they might have something just a little more specific to their micro, neighborhood or the surroundings. But generally, it is a celebration of nature. So you can see how the women have been able to respect and identify nature as the biggest gift that they have got. And this group comes particularly from this tiny little village called Keri, in the northeast taluka of Sattari in Goa, which is literally at the foothills of the Western Ghats. So up there, and you're in the, within, like from their village, I think within an hour you're in Belgaum. So the thing is that they will have some mixed, shared cultural, or some terms might be shared from across the borders. But what is it? They are celebrating nature because they're singing songs of the nature, the various kinds of plants, trees, flowers, fruits. They always start with an invocation. They invoke the local deity first. We have this concept of your guarding spirits in Goa. It's so strong. Just as much as we have the major temples where you'll have a large following, but every little village has its protective deity. And that is what they actually invoke. They invoke the rest of the goddesses and the gods, and they start. And then this is, so in the month of Paush, so Paush has just, I don't know what it's called in this part of the country, it's just over, right? So Paush, around the full moon of Paush, for 5 nights, or 7 or 9, usually we always work in odd numbers, and they will set the mand on the first day. Very ceremoniously, they will invoke the spirits and they will set the mand, which is considered a sacred space for the rest of the 5 days or 7 days. And at the end of that celebration, they will disband this mand, again very ceremoniously, thanking God for protecting them through those days, and with the hope that they will come back next year to celebrate the same thing again. So it's a very beautiful interaction with nature, which you will see here. Nature as well as, the spirits. So what we will do is, and then we are going to come back to the Fugdi. So today's session, as against yesterday, is going to be small demonstrations of all these parts and various aspects of the Dhalo and Fugdi. And then, of course, we are going to have some other wonderful things for you. Okay, so let's get on. So we'll start with the Dhalo, and the part of the Dhalo where they will be coming and invoking the spirits and the goddess. Yeah, I have. So then, after the invocation, which is a little more ceremonious, they will have it next to Tulsi. So as I said, the mand is the sacred space. And actually, back in the times, they would just find a convenient spot between little, within their neighborhood. So say about 10 families or 20 homes in the village would find a kind of a common space. For that period, smear it with cow dung, create a kind of a sacred spot there. Then around the Tulsi plant, they would set the mand for the next few days. So now what happens is, most of the villages have lovely halls attached to the temple. So even if it's a hall like this, they all meet there. It's well protected, well lit and everything. Okay. So then you see, after the invocation, they're standing in 2 rows facing each other. The way they stand itself spells sisterhood. So you can imagine, because these are not all, though they are of the same community and maybe largely related to each other by blood, but it's basically the community, the strength in the bonding that you find right at this point in time. So now they will be facing each other, and usually the Dhalo starts with this back and forth movement from their side. So let's see a bit of that.
तुलसी माती
already striking a conversation. Have you seen them? Like there's one is asking for something and they're replying. And what they have, maybe some of the words you will find familiar because the language does have, the Sanskrit thing. You will find that they have said, they have mentioned the day of the month, which is that Punav, the Manini Purnima of Paush. So they mentioned the day, they mentioned the place, they mentioned the surroundings. So all this is a part of the conversation between these two women, these two groups, the rows of the ladies. Okay, so now once they start with this goes on for a bit. And then they soon start off with going into a circular movement. So now from this point, we are going to ask them to just show a few. So they get playful now. Now it's almost like, they are kind of drawing lines and, it's some kind of a verbal argument, but very, very musical and very much to do with what they do on a daily basis. They're mentioning kitchen items, utensils, or they're mentioning the well, they're mentioning the pot from which they draw the water, so that. Okay, so now you find that the Dhalo at one point even goes into a theatrical element. So what are they doing? They have some things which have come down from the ages. So one is a thing like the act of the wedding. So one of them will become the groom. One becomes the bride. They, immediately put that Sarah and then they'll put a feta. But it's all women, of course. Then one becomes like the presiding pandit. Then you have that antar part, the cloth between the bride and the groom. Then they'll sing the typical, what we call Mangalashtaka, so that they sing. And then, it's like the wedding. Everybody looks very festive. They put flowers in their hair and things like that. And so there is a theatrical element. So now they are going to show you a theatrical element, but not the wedding. You guess what they're showing you now. So at the end, I'm going to ask you if you guessed what they were. If you have been able to guess what they were. Can you guess what they did? So did you guess what the lady who sat down, what was she? Huh? You know those people in the villages, they will invoke the spirit and give answers to questions. Okay, so they're called gadi back home. So, people go looking, in search of answers. All about their life, their business, their, everything. So she was the gadi here. And could you guess what the women did? So there is this thing because these communities have been living very close to the forests. One of the things that they have done, not the women actually, but the men have done is gone hunting. And when they went, they found like wild rabbits and not serious things like deers and all back home, but it was basically wild rabbits and if you're lucky, it could be a wild boar. So this is the act where they are asking the Gadi, is it a good day to go hunting? And he tells them, yeah, up there in the forest you will find the best, the prey, the animal. And then one of them shoots one animal, and here they are actually sharing, and they end up get into a squabble because she says, what about me? I was the one who killed it, and then what about me? But I was the one who saw it and things like that. And that was the way so this is a little theatrical. So as you can see, they're just enjoying themselves through these celebrations. Nothing serious, but where they all meet on 5 nights, 7 nights, in one particular time, and it's a time of the year that's pretty chilly and really a good time to be the full moon when there were no covers over their head, there was the full moon there. So with this we see the theatre. So now what we'll do is, I think with that pretty much we finished what the Dhalo would be able to show us. So we started from the invocation, we went into like a very strong bonding kind of an act, and then we went into some fun, and then we went into theatre. Okay, so after Dhalo, we are going to show you, and then we have the Fugdi. But then since Fugdi is like a very joyful celebration, we'll keep it towards the end. Now what we are going to show you is something that I think is common to most of our cultures. Most of our cultures, as you know, the grain has always been ground on the grinding stone. And therefore, the grinding stone has provided the women of our community, of our villages, as a tool for not just bonding, but also sharing. And when would this happen? So here now it's no dedicated or no programmed celebration. It's a day-to-day thing. So you grind when you need the grain. So grinding pretty much happened almost every day, if not in my house, in my neighbor's house. And when it's in my house, I would have my neighbors coming to help me. And when my neighbor needed to do it, I would go to help. So again, it is a very strong tool of social bonding. And once the women, there is this saying in Kokani, which says, Datyar basle montukuds, vovyo futta. Manche, with the moment you sit at the grinding stone, songs come to your lip. And that is exactly what they are going to show, is these are the songs. Not just did it give them the rhythm to grind the grain, which is usually in Goa, we are rice eaters. So usually the rice that went into the grain came out as coarse atta, coarse flour, and that was used for making these big puris, bhakris. And so a social space around the grinding stone provided them with an opportunity to share. To share what? To share all the simple things that make life. Share their stories, share their grief, share their happiness, and share everything. Then they would create songs and they would sing songs, poking fun at, say, somebody's mother-in-law, somebody's husband, and typical mother-in-law jokes, typical husband jokes, typical daughter-in-law jokes, or sister-in-law jokes, all that would come here. So over a period of time, and these then were also given a very celebratory form on the day there was a wedding in the house. So the day before the wedding, they would actually sit, sing songs for the bride. So there then you're being more specific. Then you're singing songs, wishing her well, describing what a married life is to her, or describing her own family members, talking about, singing about the mother of the bride, the father of the bride. So those become more wedding specific grinding songs, stone songs. So here we are going to see is how they actually, so here they will give you a small mix of maybe 2 or 3 different songs. एक दोन की नहीं मना था. So that is how we'll start on this. And then she talks about her brother, or how the brother came home with gifts for her, and how she happened to meet him in the marketplace, and she wanted to go there, but then she had to come home because this is her home now. And so things like that, very emotional, but also a lot of fun at times. Okay, so here you've had the grinding stone songs, which in Goa we call Datavoilo Ovio. So I think any of you Marathi speaking over here? So Marathi, the word Ovi is what the verses that the saints pen down, right? So this is a similar thing, though these are not saintly verses, but they are verses. So we give them the same word, Ovio, okay? Now they're going to show you something that is a little more fun. Okay, so, yeah. Okay, so can you guess what this is? Yeah, this is quite common. You would have seen it, right? And you even up there. Can you see that? So these are very commonly in those days, commonly used kitchen implements. So what is the bottom, Rama? What is the bottom? The bottom is a kind of a tray for mixing atta or whatever, multi-purpose. And that, have you seen how that is made? That is made with the coconut shell, yeah. So that's made. So half the shell, one half of the coconut, you see that. So this is called dauli. The ladle is called dauli, and this is called man. Okay, so this is called the dauli man. So what really do you see? The woman of the house actually created instruments with the things that they were most familiar with the things that they used on a regular basis. And it's really quite an imagery when they say that this thing, at the end of the day, say you've cooked and everything is done with, at the end of the day, you washed that man and you have put it on this side, the way it's put now, and it's drying. And that's the time the woman finds time to have a little entertainment for herself. So the neighboring women also have finished their chores for the day. And they have come into one house. And what do they have with them to keep them, like a musical instrument? And that is what it is, the dauli and the man. And here you can see that with just these simple implements in their hand, they create music and they create a form of entertainment for themselves. So the dauli man. They kept repeating a line called Ganba Basle Makarata. Can you guess what that is? Ganba Basle. Basle is to sit. Makar, do you know what Makar is? So in Goa, the biggest festival, within our villages is, not villages, generally in Goa, is the Ganesh Chaturthi, which happens in August or September. So the Ganpati idol made in clay is brought to every home, and then it is made to sit in a beautifully decorated, what we call makar. So what they're saying, so Ganpati, lovingly you have lots of names for the Ganpati. So one of them is Ganba. So Gana Ba. So Ganba is, so they're talking about the Ganpati who's sitting in the Makar. So the Dauli Man happens on the evening, or so as you said, when a house is full of people for a celebration, the women are so busy cooking. And religious festivals means you need a certain menu, everything has to be done in a certain way. So the women literally start cooking at the break of dawn, and everybody's fed by late afternoon. Aartis happen, bhajans happen, and evening they find some time to entertain themselves. That is exactly the time when the Dauli and the Maan comes out, and they sing songs to celebrate Ganpati about, all the ornaments that they've put on him and all the flowers that they have decorated him with. So this is essentially to be sung at that time of the year. Okay, now we go to our last segment, which is the Fugdi. So some of you would have seen it yesterday. But again, what is a Fugdi? Fugdi is in fact a very joyful movement within the group. And that is nothing but a source of entertainment for them. How we, dance in the disco or something now, you go to a nightclub to dance. So that is what they did. And exactly the same time, Ganesh Chaturthi, and we have this beautiful tradition in Goa. I don't know how it is celebrated here, but in Goa, what makes Ganesh Chaturthi very special is that every family has one Ganpati. So it's not like two brothers can have two Ganpatis in their house. Or, two cousins, the first cousins, like they will not have. Everybody has to assemble in that, the house that has come on from generations. Unless there is a reason people moved out, sold the house, and it's gone somewhere else. But that is why, where we all lived as joint families. You heard of the term joint families, right? Joint families, you would literally have homes, and we have those kind of homes in our villages. I come from one of them. You had maybe 100 people, 150 people. Till today, wherever the branches are residing, whether in Goa or whether outside Goa, if they have to be part of the celebration, they have to come to that house. And that is when all our villages come alive. Now, they live there, and therefore, the celebration happens. But we people go back there. And that is when all those old houses which are closed, come alive with 40 people, 50 people, sometimes 100 people dining in one spot. So this is, so what did the women do in the evening? They danced, they entertained themselves with this beautiful, joyful movement called Fugdi, which I think is a shared culture with Maharashtra also. Maharashtra also has the Fugdi. So very common steps, and you will see them do it for you now. Yeah, the Fugdi. then you see they also burst into some kind of a humorous conversation, you know, so that, see that. They will, Udak Zai. So it's almost like a face-off. A big hand. So the ladies here are from the village of Keri, Sattari, Goa, and their group is called Nyanjoti Mahila Mandal. A big hand, big hand.
So now actually we know where beatboxing came from. Such a wonderful form of folklore, right from their attire of 9 yards. Yes, surely. We'll open up the floor. Yes, that is why I was building the story. Now, I was just saying, what a wonderful form of folklore, along with their attire, sitting together the grinding stone, that also encouraged in community singing to the beats and to the footwork that they had. I mean, look, she's...
I think the most inspiring of them all, right? I don't think she'll even know her age. I don't know. I don't think she'll know. Please have a photograph of her
Yes,
so that
yes.
you can share it with me. Then. Sangeeta,
yes.
maybe, okay, I'll do it with my, okay. So, a very, heartwarming display of sisterhood and solidarity amongst the community. So we have various communities like this which celebrate the Dhalo and the Fugdi. Question answer zatli kira ubi round bette pura udakpi.
Pritha, we
Some
can
water
take about
for
4, yes.
Yeah,
water,
just
please.
about 4
Serve
questions,
some
but
water. 4
before you-
questions.
So a very interesting fact about the Dhalo culture and the Dhalo tradition of Goa. So after the colonial, the Portuguese, during the Portuguese colonial period, there was mass conversion. And after the conversion, not only did the religion of the people, like communities at large, got converted, but it also meant that they had to let go of their cultural traditions. So there were some very strong rules, and if you didn't follow them, again, a few years later, there was this terrible period of inquisition and all that. But through this, the Dhalo have survived. Not for these communities, but these are not the converted communities. So what you have is in major pockets of South Goa, you have some communities which is called largely the Gauda community. You have the Hindu Gaudas as well as you have the Christian Gaudas. They were the converted law. But they also have their form of Dhalo and Fugdi. So they maintained it. Things changed. attire changed, the bindi went off, even their kind of the saris were then not worn as nawwaris, that kas, the pleats going between the legs and getting tucked, that went. But they had a way of wearing the sari with a little knot on the top because they were farmers. They needed to have their hands free when they're in the farm. So all these changes happened. Even the content of the songs could have changed marginally. Like here they take the names of gods and goddesses. There they would say maybe Saibin Mai. Saibin Mai is like Mother Mary. So these things happened. But having said that, the Dhalo and the Fugdi remained, and that community has their own version of Dhalo and Fugdi today. So we'll take a few questions. I would like the ladies themselves to answer. Janki is there to answer if anybody else wants. But if there is any thing, then I'm happy to help.
Before you, fantastic. This super impressive. It's not a question from my side. I just wanted to know, since yesterday we have been seeing the ladies performing and doing. I just wanted you to elaborate a little bit. What do men do now in such situations? So if you can talk about that.
Janki, their question is, तुम्ही जेन्ना धालो मांडाचेर येता आनी धालो खेळूंक येता तेन्ना तुमचे दादले खंय आसता? घराच असता काय पळोवंक येता तुमकां?
मांडारूच असता.
मांडार असता न्ही?
बरोबर येता.
असता.
जेन्ना लास्ट 5 days 5व्या दिसा जेन्ना आमी सेलिब्रेट क्लोजिंग सेरेमनी करता तेन्नाच ते फक्त जेन्ना शिपता मांड शिपता कळशी घेवन काल आमी दाखयले त्या टायमारूच ते मातशे भायर वयता कित्याक लागून तर ते फुल्ली वेगळे मातशे कपडे यूज करता म्हणून व्हायट कपडे यूज करता पण आतां डबल टिबल कोड यूज करता पयलीं एक सिंगल कोड कर
कोण बायलो
बायल एकटीच बायल
म्हणजे सवळे कशें नासता
सवळे कशें नासता
आनी
त्या टायमारूच भायर वयता
पण मांड मांडटाय ना तेन्नाय सवळे नासता पयलीं फक्त सोबत ओके सो an interesting fact comes out here again so yesterday if you noticed who were there when they assembled the mand they had a copper pot of water where they just kind of sprinkle so basically what are they doing they're sanctifying the place the space and at the end when they have called off the dhalo after 5 or 7 days they again sanctify it they disband the dhalo the mand and what she said was their men are very much present because it's a night it's a celebration in the evening so the men are very much there watching them but only at that moment when that thing is being sprinkled on the last day the woman who's assigned to do it usually comes in this belief of Saure is that where that absolutely like wet loincloth is worn around by the woman on very cooking the religious food or going into the prayer room or where the saligram is there. So a lot of people still believe that complete purity, like freshly bathed. They don't even wear stitched clothes on their body, so they'll just wear that very thin. So at that moment, because that woman will appear in her saure, which is very thin cloth, that is when the men will go out. So that's about it. Otherwise, the men are pretty much there. So yeah. Question, and then it will maybe say, Janki, why do you think, what makes all of you take this tradition forward? तुमकां हें फुडें व्हरचें दिसून तुमी आज ह्या पुर्वजां भशेन तुमी हें फुडें व्हरता सो हें कित्याक शें दिसता तुमकां व्हरपाक फुडें
मेन म्हजी फर्स्ट खूब आवड आसा फोका बद्दल तशीच म्हजी पार्टिसिपंट एमोंग ऑल 20 पार्टिसिपंट तांकांय खूब इंट्रस्ट आहा आनी तशीच आमच्या भितर बरीचशी शिकलेली भुरगीं आसा हांव स्वता एम.ए. इन संस्कृत आसा B.Ed चालू आसा म्हजी तशीच खुबशी ग्रॅज्युएट शी इज ऑल्सो ग्रॅज्युएट बसलेली खूब जाणां ग्रॅज्युएट एक एडवोकेट आसा ते रुमार गेला मातशें जाम जाला सो दिसता की आमची ही फोक कला फोक खंय तरी आज खूब कमी आमकां पळोवपाक मेळटा खूब शिकलेली भुरगीं आहा ती म्हणटा फुगडी घालप धालो खेळप खूब जुने आवडना इंट्रस्ट ना पण जेन्ना खूब जाणांक आमी आतां पळयता आतां कॉलेजीन सुद्दां खूब कडेन धालो फुगडी खूब कडेन फुडें येवपाक लागल्या तसोच करून करून इंट्रस्ट जालो आतां चला आमची फोक कला आसा खुबशीं बायलां म्हणटा चला करुया आनी हें खरें म्हणजे आमचें दायज जाणट्यांनी दिलां तें आमचें टिकून उरोवंक जाय आमी आमची लोककला आमची लोकसंस्कृती ही फुडें पावोवंक जाय तेका लागूनच आज आमचो प्रयत्न आसा. आज आमी गोंयासून स्पेशली हैदराबाद येयल्या. मे बी तुमकां कितें हांगा ना कळून आसतलें, पण कांय फरक पडना. आमचे मुवमेंट, आमचे एक्सप्रेशन तुमच्या मेरेन पावलें, तेच खूब 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 बरें दिसता.
So Janki says that yes, there are a lot of people who are shying away from it, but personally she and her group are very fond of their own traditions. They are very keen to take it forward. In fact, she shared just now that she is an MA in Sanskrit and she's working on her B.Ed. There are some graduates here, first generation learners. There is an advocate from the same group, another lady. So you can see that education has come into the community in a big way, but yet they are very keen to take on. So I think they deserve another big round of applause for taking this forward. And the other good thing is government through the art and culture also have, you know, these festivals which happen, or, you know, they have competitions of Dhalo Fugdi. So groups from various villages will come and they'll perform. So then they're trying to better their act, you know. So she actually put the group together. They don't do it all the time. They had just finished with Dhalo, but then they had to practice for this. So the moment HLF got finalized, she had called the girls to practice every night. So you see, it's a very strong bonding that is coming out of all this. Yeah, strong character of leadership and adjustments, and, you know, now see their sense of adventure in traveling to a city they have probably none of them ever been. You know, so the excitement about being there. So yeah, thank you for having us over. And yeah. It happens, you know, in Maharashtra in a big way, how they're like squatting on the floor and, you know, jumping. All that happens in Fugdi. But today they happen to not show that part where they are, you know, ते एकूच माच्ची घालून दाखयता, दोग जाणां कोणी याचं.
Fantastic, fantastic. Such a treat to the eyes, such melodious music, and the narration and the moderation was just fantastic. A super, super round of applause before they get off the stage.
And Janki would like to say a few words, and I, on my behalf, thanks once again, thank as HLF, because we're literally running away now. So thank the
our
entire
pleasure.
team.
Our
Sangeeta,
pleasure.
you are here, and thank you for recognizing Konkani as your language in focus, and because of which we are here. Today we had a fantastic Konkani film that happened.
Yes, in the morning.
Yeah, so thank you so much, everybody.
Yes, Janki.
नमस्कार, मैं जानकी रघुनाथ परब. ये हमारा ग्रुप यहाँ भी थोड़े बैठे हैं. हम गोवा से आए हैं, नॉर्थ गोवा से. हमारे महिला मंडल का नाम है ज्ञानज्योति महिला मंडल केरी 70. आज मैं HLF को थैंक यू कहना चाहती हूँ. आज उन्होंने हमें इतना बड़ा चांस दिया, हमारी गोवा की फोक डांस, फोक सॉन्ग्स इस बड़े फेस्टिवल में परफॉर्म करने के दे दिया. स्पेशली थैंक्स टू प्रीता मैम, परिंदी, अमिता देसाई मैम, एंड ऑल ऑफ HLF टीम. थैंक्स वन एंड ऑल.
आप आए, ये हमारा सौभाग्य. थैंक यू.